This is a groundhog, or also known as a woodchuck, and this fella's from the Sciuridae family, which is a group of marmots, which is from the genus Marmota, and we're not doing taxonomy right now. Just know you can call them a weenusk, and they populate the east side of the US and in Canada. But for those of you who live in other parts of the world, just watch Groundhog Day, starring Bill Murray, and it'll tell you everything you need to know. Probably, maybe. I never watched the movie. I just have to assume he thinks he's a god. Not the god, but just a god. And these ferocious animals have the power to predict the winter weather. Or not. He's just a big overgrown squirrel at the end of the day. But how do we come up with such a funny story about groundhogs predicting the weather? It all started when the Pennsylvanian Dutch immigrated to the US. Why are they called the Pennsylvanian Dutch? Because they moved to Pennsylvania. That's it. And they brought their own tradition. Not you, Black Pete. But while we're here, we're changing you to Pete. It's a tradition called Feast of the Presentation of Jesus Christ, or Feast of the Purification of the Blessed Virgin Mary, or Feast of the Holy Encounter, but I'll just call it Candlemas. They follow what the Holy Book says, specifically Luke 2:22-40, and Leviticus 12, which made those optional nicknames I said sound more like steps, but they stuck with Candlemas because they use candles to bless themselves at the end of the day. It is also noted that a boy gets circumcised 33 days prior. Which day it is exactly? I don't know, and I don't care whenever someone loses their foresen. The folks at home are now thinking, wow, I learned a new holiday, but what in the good Lord's name does that have to do with Groundhog Day? And the answer is they take place on the same day. I never said it was going to be satisfying, and it was originally called Badger Day as well. Here's a simple explanation of how Groundhog Day works. If it's sunny outside when the groundhog emerges, that means it'll see its shadow, late spring, and more winter will come. If it's dark outside, it cannot see its own shadow, early spring, warm weather. The way I explained it, you can be your own groundhog, but less people would care about what you do. I want to assume that it was just someone who really cared about their groundhog so much that they wanted everyone to notice. Like Eggs Benedict. Every US state celebrates Groundhog Day except for Alaska, which passed a whole Senate Bill 58 just to be called Marmot Day. You see? It wasn't useless. And I don't even know why they passed the Senate bill. Do they really need someone to tell them, yeah, you're gonna have more winter over here? Thanks. And poor Hawaii. They must really rely heavily on that groundhog because all those harsh winters must be killing them. And there isn't just one groundhog, but groundhoggies, if you will. Sir Walter Wally, who just recently retired. Staten Island Chuck, just to name a few. But the most famous would be Punxsutawney Phil from Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania. A little unfair since he got home field advantage, but play ball. The funny name isn't why he's the most recognizable, but the posse he calls called the Inner Circle. How spooky. It's just a bunch of men wearing top hats and worshipping a groundhog. Punxsutawney Phil benefits from having the Inner Circle because they make him immortal. It all started when the city editor wrote about a groundhog, and it really makes me believe that this whole thing started because someone really likes their groundhog a little too much. The president of the Inner Circle speaks groundhogese, so be ready to add that to your resume whenever you apply. There's also one Phil since 1886. How? I thought groundhogs only live to 3 to 5 years. Doctors hate them, but the Inner Circle gives Punxsutawney Phil the elixir of life. Punxsutawney also has a wife called Phyllis, but since it was 1886, she wasn't allowed any rights and they didn't let her drink from the elixir of life. I'm only scratching the surface of Groundhog Day. I wonder if they have a burial site for Phil's wife so he can visit them. Oh. So that's where Phil's wife went.